First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the PrizePicks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on PrizePicks for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
Lisa Wilsey is, of course, the director over at the Stanley Theatre, and there's been a lot of talk over this art space, low-income housing complex that looks like is plotted for the parking lot, which is adjacent to the Stanley Theatre, and a lot of people are talking about this one. Lisa, good morning. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So, what are your thoughts here, Lisa, on this from Stanley's perspective?
Well, just to be, kind of go back a little bit, about a year ago, I saw a Google Earth photograph, and the outline of what back then was art space was sort of like dropped on this map, and we didn't really have much to go on in terms of formulating an opinion. And then this February, I was able to meet with Commissioner Thomas, and I saw some actual art drawings, and it really started to raise a lot of questions about how this building not only will environmentally impact our property, but also the ability to do shows, which is how we stay in business. So as we've been studying this incredibly with incredible thoughtfulness, really, in trying to have it make sense, is you start to look at environmental things like how is water going to move now, snow. You start to worry about the sewer stress because we already have backed up lines in our basement coming in from the sewer lines. So you get worried, and these questions just start to layer themselves. And then you look at, the cultural concern, because we are in favor of the One World Garden. We've been in favor now for well over a year. We think it would be a great connector for 2 neighborhoods to bring people in from Park Avenue downtown as a great way for them just to walk downtown. I feel sometimes they don't feel included because there's just these walls and the fences up. Yeah. So we just a fan of parks too. So there was that, and then you start to study how the trucks are going to get in. You look at this drawing, and what people might have seen from that picture that ran in the paper was the ingress actually goes under the first story of the building, and the drawing I saw, that ingress was 13 feet, and according to my tech guys, a box truck won't get in it, let alone a tractor trailer that's 53 feet long. Because also what you kind of don't see, and maybe because you've gone to the theater quite a bit, Bill, but the parking lot is actually more sloped upwards than you think, than it feels. You really look at it. So if you have these 53-foot trucks trying to get past under a building, I reckon, and so do my tech guys, that they'll get stuck. So that would actually, put a lot of our large shows, which are really the revenue movement for our building. We really capture a lot of revenue with those bigger shows like Styx or Broadway or Aria Speedwagon that do come in sometimes upwards of 10 tractor trailers and park up there in the back, tucked away, and provides easy access to load in and load out and run out to your trucks. And quite frankly, if they have to start parking at a distance, that would add to time, and time is money. And then pretty soon, you're priced out of doing the show altogether, or the ticket price escalates so high you can't because the market just can't bear a $300 show ticket. So you know what I mean here. This has got a lot of different pieces now that are evolving. And so our position, it's not about art space. I'm quite familiar with the organization out in California, where I'm from. They have a location in Santa Cruz, but that one again, it's located, I think, a mile and a half from downtown. So it's in its own area, which is ideal, I think, for what they do. It becomes very residential. So this is not about art space itself. This is about any real estate development project going in there at this point. It really would put the Stanley Theatre economically in peril, and at a point when I think the building is, even though we've come out of a COVID year, on its way to becoming something really interesting, like we talked about several months ago when we activated our soundstage, which is slowly gaining speed and momentum.
Yeah.
So now we're worried: are we going to lose, a Netflix series that wants to come and use our soundstage? Are we going to start losing business that we're trying to court? So it's a struggle to kind of wrap our head around it.
Lisa,
Andrew.
Has Betsy or Becky? I'm drawing the blank exactly.
Becky.
Has ArtSpace contacted you? Had any meetings with you? Had any conversations with you with regard to this project?
Not until a meeting was taken about a week ago. No one had contacted about design or contacted our immediate neighbors nor our tenants. And, our tenants are Encore Restaurant and Broadway. And when the drawings were the story was coming out, I'm like, hey, has anyone talked to them about this design? Like, there was no neighborly input, no neighborly engagement ahead of design. So, unfortunately, it kind of leaves you in a frustrated point because you feel like you're the bad guy coming out and saying no. But if this conversation possibly had happened, 7 months ago, we wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. And I would have thought that the city would have reached out to you.
That's my thought. I was going to say the same thing.
Well, like I said, I met with Commissioner Thomas just before we shut down in March of 2020, and we had a brief conversation about this. It's when the DRI was coming into play, and everyone was scrambling with their projects, and we had talked about it because the issue of the parking was a concern, and again. The drawing, what I saw was not a rendering, or it was not an official, like, this is what we'd like to do. It was just placed to give me an idea. And what you see then and what you see now, to me, are incredibly different, because one now takes into account height and 4 stories, and, our sunlight's going to be adjusted, and those windows on the south side of the building that overlook the loading dock and this parking lot actually were put there on purpose to capture sunlight to help with our utilities, our heating bills. So there's a few things that, it's just a lot of people don't know about until you start talking. So we asked for a meeting. We had one about a week ago, and they are scheduled to come to the property to understand firsthand what I'm talking about this Monday. So we'll see, so maybe they understand that where we're at.
Yep. Is there any ability or ever been a conversation about, because the parking lot is right next to your building, and I know there are other restaurants and there are other options down there, but I don't know that anybody uses the fullness of that parking lot the way you guys do when you have a show. Ever been a conversation or an ability purchase the lot, acquire the lot from the city as a way to protect that?
That's a great question. You kind of look at all the money you make the city over the last 10, 15 years, and you kind of think, wow, we've kind of paid for it umpteen times over already. It'd be great if they maybe donated it to us, and maybe my volunteers even have reached out, a few of them, and said if the lot would even be donated to us and we manage it for those immediate core businesses in the area, they'd actually start a beautification committee to come in and keep it tidy, and maybe charge minimal numbers for parking on show nights, and then use that money really just to put it into a parking fund that repairs lights and takes care of maintenance and raises fund monies for repairs. And so I have to tip my hat to some of my volunteers that reached out about that, because everyone's thinking about how to do things and they're all good things. I'm not hearing anybody say no to art space. Everybody's actually coming out of the woodwork thinking of places to put it, because
I've heard
they want to save that. They don't want it. They don't want to lose it. They love it. I agree. I mean, so. Is
there any way that the project could be modified in a way that it would fit in that space, or are you saying you guys at this point are saying no construction in that space?
I would have to see it to understand it, but the way those big shows, I talked to Broadway a few days ago. I talked to Danielle, and I said, pull a tech file for me. I got to see, how are you using this lot on a tech, because those are becoming more and more prevalent for the business. And one of her shows had 10 53-foot tractor trailers, 2 box trucks. It was a 2-day load-in. It was 60 extra laborers the first day, 72 the second day. So we're creating jobs, which is wonderful, but also the access to bring that production to the theater and for 29 days, and the revenue, was extraordinary, not just for the theater, brought in over 5,100 patrons in 3 shows, which is a lot of bodies downtown and cars. Mm-hmm. But also, the economic accelerator that the partnership we have with Broadway is so significant. You're looking at, in 29 days, roughly $750,000 was spent in Utica, and that's a lot of money. So, to me, to even put that revenue for the city in terms of its hotels and the restaurants and the bars and all the residual business that comes from that, I just can't wrap my head around how you fracture that. I mean, that's such an amazing thing for our town.
All right, Lisa Wilsey, we appreciate it, and this is one of those stories that has gained a great deal of traction, and we appreciate you guys coming out and giving us your position on this. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Bill. Thanks, Andrew. See you later.
All right, thank you. Have a great day.
Okay.
Lisa from the Stanley Theatre. So there you go.
You talking to me or him?
Sorry. I know you always get left off. I'm sorry, but I don't see anything.
Pretty clear stance.
Yeah, I don't see anything that will satisfy the Stanley Theatre. Any construction or any modification, even though she said they'd look at it. I don't see anything that would work.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the PrizePicks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on PrizePicks for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.